Hi everyone, welcome to the Coding Channel. Today is the 35th episode of our Java programming tutorial series. And in this episode, we are going to talk about JLabel and JTextField GUI components as well as event handling in Java. This and more when we come back. In this episode, we are going to create a GUI-based application of an add-even problem by using a JFrame and adding some of the basic GUI components like the labels and text box. So let me try to run this simple application. So for example, we are tasked to enter a number in a text box. If we enter 5 and then once you press the enter key, okay, there's a comment here or the result. 5 is odd. For example, if you try to enter 4, 4 is even, 6 is even, 7 is odd, 9 is odd, 3 is odd. Okay, so something like that. As you can see, every time I enter a 5 and then after I press the enter key, okay, the text box automatically clears the input and then display the output. Okay, so these are GUI components now. I have here, this one is just a picture. And then we have another label, text label, enter a number. Then we have the text box and another label. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We have a total of 4 GUI components. Okay, now to begin, I will be using the approach wherein I want to inherit from JFrame. I want to make my the JFrame class as my superclass and the main GUI as my subclass. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is to have a constructor method so that we can initialize all the GUI components inside of the constructor. And if you have watched our previous episode, we've talked already about how to create a constructor. No argument constructor this time. Okay, so we have a main GUI 3. So that's our class name. So that's why the name of our constructor is also main GUI 3. Okay, and then within the main method, we when we are going to execute this program, so the Java virtual machine will find the main method, and then within the main method, we need to call the main GUI. Okay, so that's the order, or the sequence of how we execute this program. So we will call or the main GUI constructor by having this statement. So new main GUI 3, and then open and close parentheses. Okay, so that's it. And then let's try to work now inside of the constructor method. Okay, what's the first thing that we need to do? Since we want to have a frame and we're going to use a frame, so we need to instantiate a JFrame class. Okay, so JFrame, for example, we have my frame is equal to new JFrame. And then another, since we are going to use icon, so we will try to instantiate an image icon class also. For example, my icon is equal to new an image icon, and then we will put the file name of our logo here, but make sure that that logo is included in your project. Okay, you need to copy and paste it here. For example, I want to use the add for the icon image. I'm gonna use the logo, for example, or the image icon. I mean add even logo dot png. Okay, just have use the lowercase here. Okay, it's okay. Okay, and then inside of our constructor method, we need to create first. We have a set visible true, and then for example the size of our frame, we have let's say 600 to 650, the width and the height. Okay, let's try to close this one, and then let's try to run first. Okay, for us to see, this is now our frame. And aside from that, we will be using the set default close operation, and then JFrame dot exit on close. Okay, so that every time we close this window, it will close successfully. Okay, so set default close operation. What else? We need to change the location. Let's say, for example, of space from the left margin. Say we have 200, or and this one from top, let's say we have 100. Okay, so let's try. Sorry, set location. I'm sorry, we have 100. Okay, space from the left margin, we have, let's say we have 3 here, 300. Okay, next let's change the icon. So for example, that's a set icon image, and then we will be using this add even logo. So let's try to use the my icon here, my icon dot get image. Okay, that's simple as that. Let's try. So we have now an icon here, and then we will add another text in the title bar. So we have set title, and then for example we want to have add even problem. Okay, right, we have the add even problem now, and then we have the let's try to make this one first. Okay, so the next step is to add components, but before that we will instantiate first an object of a label. Okay, so in Java we have a JLabel. For example, a JLabel, if you want to display an image, okay, that's part of a label. Okay, so for example, we have a pick label is equal to new JLabel, and then inside of the label we will also put the this one, the file name, the add even, for example, the png, and then semicolon. Okay, what else? Let's try to create an object first. Another JLabel, we have the num label. Num label is equal to a new JLabel, and then this time we have an enter a number. Okay, something like that. So as you can see in JLabel, we can put as argument the file name of our image. You can use a PNG or the JPG, or if you want, if you have a GIF, a GIF, and then also we can put as argument or parameter the string, and then what else? The result. Okay, the result initially there is no text being displayed if you're going to execute it. Okay, but after the user have entered the a number, that's the only time that this one is will be visible. Okay, so in this case, we will just let the JLabel empty, the argument of the JLabel. For example, this one is the result label. So okay, so we have now three labels, and then what about for the text box? So in Java, we have a JTextField for the text box. Let's try to name this object. NumField object is equal to new, and then JTextField, and then the argument of JTextField, let's say for example 10. That's the width, okay, of our text box. Now text field and JLabel and then JFrame, even the image icon, these are classes within Java X.Swing package. Okay, so after we have created an object, so it's about time to um, insert that in our frame. Take note that we are going to insert the all the GUI components, or we are going to, yes, inside of the content pane of the JFrame. We all know that using JFrame, there are a lot of what do you call this? There's a lot of pane. I mean, there's a lot of layers in a frame. So we have the glass pane, then followed by the content pane, and then we also have the root pane and a lot more. Okay, so we will be utilizing the content pane of our frame. Okay, so that is possible by using the get content pane method. So for example, we have get content pane, and then dot add. For example, we are going to add the label. So we will try to put here a pick label and then semicolon. Okay, so let's try to run. Try to see. Okay, so as you can see, it did not display the image, only the file name. So meaning there's a problem in here. Okay, so what's the problem? The problem is, let me check. The first component is at the back of the num label. So to prevent this from happening, if you want to see both the label and then the text, it's very important to set the layout manager. Okay, and there are a lot of layout managers available in Java. The first one that I'm going to introduce to you is the FlowLayout method. But how are we going to use that one? Okay, so in here you can just use the get content pane again. Okay, that set layout, and then we have a new flow layout. Okay, and then flow layout is a new class within Java that AWT package. Okay, so like that. Okay, now so we've set the layout manager, the flow layout. Okay, using a flow layout, it's a very important to add the GUI components in order. For instance, if we added the pick label first, so and then followed by the num label, if we're going to run this one, okay, you can see the pick label first, followed by the num label. But if you're going to maximize this one, okay, what have you noticed? Okay, it's a center aligned horizontally. Okay, because with the flow layout, the function of a flow layout here is to arrange the GUI components, okay, from left to right. But if the moment we resize the frame, as you can see, if the components can be, if it can fit in the first row, for instance, so the flow layout manager will display all the components in one line. But for example, if we're going to reduce the width of this frame, okay, if you have noticed, it automatically moved to the next line. Okay, so depending on the width of the frame that we have set. But by default, it's a center aligned. Okay, so that's how the Flow Layout Manager arranges the GUI components. Okay, so far, let's try to add another component, which is this time after the label, the num label, we need another component here, which is the num field. Okay, so we can just copy this one and then and then for example, let's see num field. Okay, that's it. And then let's try to add the last one, which is the result label. I'll have to put it here, and then this time we have a result label. Okay, and let's try to run. So as you can see, we have now the num label, and then this one is the num field, and then it's hidden here since we don't have any text to be displayed so far with the result label, but it's already in here. Okay, again, if you try to maximize this one, okay, as you can see, all the components are being displayed in the first line. But if you're going to resize this using the flow layout, okay, that one automatically moves to the next line again. So how are we going to change the size of our label, for example, here? Okay, that is possible by using the font class under java.awt. Okay, so let's try to instantiate an object of a font class here. For example, we have font, and then the object name, for example, my font is equal to new font. Okay, font has three parameters or arguments. The first one is the font. For example, I want Tahoma. And then the font style, for example, we have font that bold. Aside from bold, we have italic, and then font that bold plus italic, or the plain by default. Okay, and then let's try to use, for example, 25 as the font size. Okay, so that's the three parameters of font. And then if we are going now to apply this font, how are we going to use that one? Okay, we can use here, specify first the component, which is the num label. So we want a num label that set font. Okay, so that's possible using set font, and then we will be using the my font as argument here. Okay, that's as you can see. If we're going to run again, let's try to see the output. Okay, we have now the enter a number label. So what about in the text box? So we will also use this one. Just copy this, and instead of num label, so we will just replace this one with the num field, and also the result label. Okay, we can just put here result label. Okay, so we have now changed that one, and then if you're going to run, okay, we have now the enter a number, and then once you enter 5, nothing will happen. Okay, because we are not done yet. Okay, so let's try to adjust the width. Let's say, for example, the width is let's try to have 550 width. Okay, let's try run. Okay, not yet. Let's try to have 500 here width. 500 width. Okay, there you go. Much better. Okay, but if you press the enter key, nothing will happen. Okay, in our previous example, the text appear here at the right side. So because I set the horizontal alignment as right. Okay, how are we going to do that? You can specify here. Okay, just specify num field. What's the GUI component? It's num field that set horizontal alignment. Set horizontal alignment, and then just have to put a JTextField dot right. This one is constant. We have the, by default it's left, so that left, we have the center, and then this time we have right. We're going to run. So as you can see, okay, once you type a 5, it will appear on the right side. Okay, so that's it. But if you press the enter key, nothing will happen. Okay, next, what are we going to do now? We already have the GUI components. We've set it here. Okay, we have the horizontal alignment already. Okay, the next step is to add an event. Okay, what is an event in Java? Okay, event could be, it's like the moment you press an enter key, that's an event. The moment you click the mouse button, okay, that's an event. In the moment you click the right button, mouse button, okay, so those are example of an event. So there are a lot of event, but this time let's talk about the action event first. Okay, so the moment we press the enter key in our text box, so there should be a listener, okay, that would handle that event. And what are we going to do? Okay, what method are we going to call once there's an event? Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is what? We need to override a method of an action listener interface. Okay, soon we will discuss the interface in a more detailed manner. Okay, but in this episode, since our focus is on GUI components, specifically the labels and text fields, so we'll just simply put implements here. Okay, so again, we use extends if we want to inherit all the methods or attributes of the JFrame class. Okay, so this one again is an application of inheritance that is available in one technique that's available in Java, since Java is an object-oriented programming language. Okay, but don't worry, we will tackle that in our separate episode. Okay, and also take note that in Java we cannot inherit more than one class, meaning we cannot extend more than one class. Like for example, we have JFrame, then we will extend another class. Okay, but we can implement interfaces. Okay, so that's the way of Java. Okay, so let's try to implement the action listener. Okay, so again, don't forget to include the import statement of action listener. And action listener is under the java.awt.event. So the main reason why we implement that, because we in an interface there is a method that we need to override, and that method of action listener is the actionPerformed method. So we are going to override it here. When we say override, that's a built-in already. Okay, same method heading, same name, for example, same parameters. Okay, all we need to do is just to modify or put an implementation within that method. Okay, so that is a public void actionPerformed. Okay, again, this one is a built-in method of action listener interface, and the argument is always action event, and then the only thing that we can change here is the object name of action event. So for instance, I'll just put e there. Okay, to make it simpler. And take note also that action event is a class within java.awt.event. Okay, so again, the main reason why we implement action listener is for us to have to override the actionPerformed method of that interface. Okay, so now what is next? Okay, our goal is when we press the enter key after we type, for example, a 5, okay, and then we press the enter key. So our goal is to determine for our program to determine if that number is odd or even. Okay, so but before that, we need to register what GUI component, okay, are we going to register for event handling, and that is the num field. So we will put it here anywhere actually inside of our constructor method. So for example, we have a num field dot add action listener. So this is how we register an event for a specific a GUI component. So add action listener, and then we have this, meaning that this is referring to this frame. Okay, so again, when we after we type, for example, a number, let's say 5, and then we press the enter key, and we register the text box for event handling, the program control now will go directly to the actionPerformed method. Okay, so to process that event. Okay, what are we going to do now once the user have entered inside of the num field text box? Okay, so we will process it here inside of the actionPerformed method. Okay, and the first thing that we need to do is to get the user input. Take note that by default, that number is a string data type. Even if we enter a number in a text box, by default, that is a string. Okay, but the first thing that we need to do again here is to get that value. Okay, and how are we going to do that? We will be using the built-in method. We have the getText method. Okay, but we need to specify the name of the GUI component. Okay, so the name of the GUI component where we enter the number is in the num field, right? So we have a num field now that get text. So that's the syntax. So again, since that one is a string by default, so we need to convert that, okay, from string to integer, and we store it temporarily to an integer variable. And how are we going to do that? So for example, we have int number is equal to integer dot parseInt. Okay, so let me explain this one. Using integer.parseInt, okay, this method parseInt is used to convert a string to integer. So if the argument, for example, is numField.getText, meaning to say the parseInt now is converting that value, that 5, that is by default a string, to an integer, and then we assign two number variable, integer number variable. And then after that, we can now pass this one. For example, if you are going to create a or call a separate method, let's say check add number. Okay, so we can pass that one, check add event, for example, and we will pass the number. Okay, and then after we pass, we are expecting a string return value. Let's say, for example, the return value is, let's say we pass a 5. So 5 is add, or 6 is even. So we will store that in a string variable. For example, we have a result. So string result is equal to check add even. Okay, so that's it. So our next step is to create a method, user-defined method, check add even. Okay, so let's say, for example, let's declare private, and then we have a string, a return type, and then the name of our user-defined method, check add even, and then there is a parameter. You can also use int number of variable here. Okay, so that's it. We have the check add even. Okay, so since this one is a value returning method, if you remember our previous episode about methods, so we can return. Okay, so how are we going to determine again if the number is odd or even? It's very simple, right? You just have to use the number, for example, a variable here where we store the user input, and then using the modulo operator, okay, we need to determine if the remainder is equal to 0. If we divide it by 2, if the remainder is equal to 0, okay, so what are we going to do? Okay, I will be using the ternary operator. It's like an if-else statement, that if this condition is true after the question mark, so I can say that that number is even. Okay, else it's like that. Yeah, using the I want to put a value here after the colon, and this will be the value, or this will be returned if the remainder is not equal to 0. I can say that number is add this time. Okay, so this is an example of ternary operator. So there you go. I have now the check even, and then we have now the string result. Okay, and then when we return that one, the value of this, for example, if we pass a 5, so the 5 is odd. So the value of result now is a 5 is odd. How are we going to display the output? Okay, take note that we have prepared a GUI component for that, and that is the result label. Okay, so if the get text method is used to get the user input, okay, we have also a built-in method of JTextField class, which is the set text method. Okay, we only just need to specify I mean the GUI component, which is not num, it's a result label, right? Result label dot set text. So the argument of set text is a string. So set text then result. Okay, because this is where we store the return value. Okay, so let's try to use that one. Okay, let's try to run, and then this time if I'm going to input 5, once I press the enter key, okay, so 5 is odd. I type 6, okay, and then 6 is even. If I type 7, 7 is odd. Okay, so let me just add some a little modification here. Okay, we will just have to put a result label dot set text. Okay, it's like I just want to clear the text box once we already have entered the value. Okay, observe the difference. It's like a clear thing. Okay, for example, I enter 5. Once I press the enter key, I want that 5 to be cleared and inside of our text field. Again, so we have 5. Okay, there's a problem again. Result, no, it's not a result label. It's a, sorry, that one is a num field. Okay, num field dot set text. Okay, not the result label. Okay, there you go. We have 5, enter. Okay, that's it. 5 is odd. If you try to enter, let's say 8, 8 is even. 9 is odd, 2 is even, 3 is odd, 4 is even. So that's it. That's how simple it is to create a frame with this time with the label and text box on GUI components of under Javax that's swing. Okay, so in this episode, let me just wrap up our discussion. This is the first time that I've introduced to you how to register a GUI component for event handling. So the first thing that we did here is we implement the action listener under the java.out.event. Okay, so after you implement, you have now the right to override that method, and actually we are required to override that one. Okay, take note that if we implement action listener and we failed to override the action performed method here, meaning we failed to use this one. Okay, let me try to, for example, let me try to comment this one. If you're going to run this, okay, okay, let's try. We have 5, 4. Okay, we have an error, and that is that error is an exemption unresolved compilation problem that this class, which is the main GUI tree, must implement the inherited abstract method action listener actionPerformed. Okay, so that's it. It's like an agreement that every time we implement an action listener, there should be an actionPerformed method that's is going to be overridden inside of our class. Okay, that's the use of that. But before that, make sure to register a certain a GUI component for event handling. So in this case, the event happens when we press the enter key after typing a number in the num field text box. Okay, and we use this to refer to itself to this frame. So that's how simple it is. Okay, and also don't forget that we've used the flow layout here. Okay, let me show you also that if you don't want to use the get content pane, there's another method here. Okay, I want to introduce to you the use of container class. So we can have, for example, container, and then any object name, for example, let's see, is equal to get content pane. Okay, so that's it. If we're going to assign now the get content pane to C, so instead of using get content pane, get content pane, get content pane, we can now replace this to C. Okay, something like that. Okay, C, and then this one, for example, and C, and also a C. Okay, and another C. That's it. And container is a class within java.awt. Don't forget to import also that one. If you're going to run, okay, it looks it helps our code to look simpler. Okay, that's one way of doing that. Okay, the container C, and then we use the flow layout here as our layout manager, and then we change the font size of our label and text box. Okay, and that's it. So I hope you've learned something from this episode, and this is the source code for this episode. And that's all for today. And if you like this video, please give us a thumbs up and consider subscribing. And as always, show your love through comments and favorites. God bless and thank you for watching.